Welcome to the Pineapple Pinup, the Hot Wife Life podcast. On today's podcast, I get on the spot with G. Hi, G. Welcome to my podcast. So tell me your current situation so we can start there.
Mhm. Well, first off, thanks for having me. So I am a solo bull in the lifestyle, or solo third. I don't really always like the term bull, but it's typically what's used. So I'm a solo guy in the lifestyle. I've been in probably about 5 years actively, but I've been, I want to say, kind of like in the outer realm of the lifestyle probably since I was like 20. So in and out probably for like a decade, but really in it for the last 5 years.
Okay. And what brought you to the lifestyle?
So what? 5 years ago, I met this lovely woman on Bumble, and it was the pandemic at the time, obviously. So there was nothing to do
Right.
but talk. So me and her
Exactly.
spent hours talking and getting to know each other, and we were talking about various things. And one late night FaceTime, we ended up talking about our kinks and our sexual interest, and the various dynamics we've been in. And for me at the time, it had been very monogamous or one-on-one. I hadn't really done anything too spicy. Uh, I guess I should go back. I am a pansexual, which makes it a little interesting for me.
Mhm.
So I told her, I'd been with guys, I'd been with bi folks, they, thems. I told her essentially I'd been around the block, and then she's like, "Oh, well, then you're not going to be surprised when I tell you about my life." And she told me about her dynamic. She was involved with a dom, and there were two other subs, and they had their own little group chat, and then the four of them were a dynamic. And from there, we talked about what that meant for her, what that looked like to be dating other people, because that dom was engaged, so he wasn't her primary partner.
Mm.
And we had gone essentially through this entire dynamic relationship for 6 months, 9 months, I think. And then unfortunately, she moved away. So we ended our sexual relationship, but kept our friendship. And from there,
Mhm.
I started to realize, like, monogamy isn't really scratching the right itches for me, not getting to the right spots. And I decided to, get back into the swing of things, for lack of a better term. Got serious on FetLife, uh, got onto some other apps out there, and really started communicating and dating people in the lifestyle, or just being involved with people in the lifestyle.
Okay, cool. All right. So what is your play dynamic? How do you meet people? Where do you meet? Are you do you have a roster? That kind of thing.
I do not have a roster, and that is for a variety of reasons. But I think primarily for me, it has to do with the way I meet people. So I meet people primarily through the apps. Um, I don't really use FetLife for dating. I do have a FetLife page and an account, mostly there just to show off my own adventures, because I like to take pictures when I'm with people sometimes, and we like to show them off, or for looking for groups. But mostly it's either swinger apps and this one app called, I don't know, can I plug in an app? I don't want to.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, this app called Field. It's very popular in the DC area, in my opinion. Actually, recently this year, I got off all of the traditional dating apps because I felt they weren't conducive to the type of relationships and dynamics I was looking for. So all the regular dating apps that people normally mention, I'm not even on those anymore.
Right. So, Field, I'm actually familiar with it. I need to get on there and like utilize it more, but I know that app. Um, and the thing I like about Field is that it advertises as advertises itself as an ethical non-monogamous.
Hmm.
And going in there, that everybody is either in a relationship or okay with being somebody who's in a relationship. So it gives you more honesty from the jump.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So currently do you have a hot wife? Do you have are you in any sort of like connected
Yeah, a couple
honey
actually.
pool?
Honeycomb's a good term. So actually, the person I started off that I mentioned 5 years ago, we actually reconnected last November, and we are actually connected on the Field app as friends with benefits. There is a couple locally to me that I also met last year at the tail end that we have kind of been feeling each other out. We've gotten a little busy because uh, the nature of the beast and the lifestyle is people do have their vanilla lives and they get in the way a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but outside of that, typically I meet couples when they post a date night event. So I'm not traditionally just shooting my shot into people's DMs. I have a rule
Mm.
just because of the way single guys have kind of moved in the lifestyle. I don't want to add to, all those bad stories. So I don't approach a couple unless they post a date night on an event or on a swingers app or any app. So traditionally it's just I join a couple for a date night or an experience that they're trying to cultivate, and then sometimes they circle back and they're like, hey, we want you to come back again. Other times they're just like, this is really fun. We did enjoy our time with you, but this is probably going to be a one off for us because we can't be in the lifestyle as much as we want to be.
Yeah. That is one of the things that plagues a lot of couples.
Hmm.
So as a bull, um,
Hmm.
I do find it interesting how so many bulls navigate the lifestyle. They navigate it in a way that seems almost nonchalant, but it actually have you ever found yourself getting attached to um couples getting like emotionally invested?
I would teeter on yes. So far, no, but I definitely would teeter on yes. Only because, as I said, the couple in my area, they they approached me radically different than everybody else has. So we
Mhm.
met on an app, and they were like, "Hey, our first meet is going to be a platonic meet," and we connected based on profession. Actually, we all discovered we were in the same industry, professionally, and that was really nice because that like established that, hey, we connect outside of just our sexual desires, right, which
Mm.
was really nice. Also because they're in the area and they're close to me, we can connect on the community, we can connect on what's going on around us. And in that case, I definitely found myself like, I like hanging out with you guys a lot more than I have any other couple, and I like the idea of hanging out with you outside of the bedroom, which I
Right.
will admit was relatively new for me because, like you said, a lot of guys move pretty nonchalantly. Um, and even for myself, if I'm only reaching out when you as a couple post a date night, it does kind of feel nonchalant because it's like kind of like I'm a stunt dick. I just show up, we do our thing. I check in with you, like we have our decompression afterwards, and then I go home and we go our separate ways essentially. So.
Mhm. I like that stunt dick. That's amazing. Okay, so when you started navigating this lifestyle,
Hmm.
and believe me when I tell you, I completely understand what you're talking about. I we're very close proximity to one another, so I understand what you're talking about when you talk about because there's something about geographically desirable dick that changes the game. Um, when you have somebody who is close at hand that can be there and it's not going to take them 2 hours to get to you, there's
Yep.
something really hot about that, knowing that you could set up a date night that may not be like that you can give
A
them a call on a
burden.
random Tuesday
Yeah.
and be like, "Hey, if I make dinner, you wanna come over and fuck?" Like, that's hot, and that to me is something that is, one of the things that I've been really missing because I am in a wasteland here. Um, it very much makes it so that anytime I meet somebody, it's a lot of traveling for dick, or they have to travel,
Hmm.
and it would be nice to have some, you know, next door neighbor dick kinda thing. Just because
It's
it geographically desirable makes things actually easier to do.
It
It
definitely
makes them
does logistically.
so that's I find it cool that you found a first of all, somebody you have something in common with. Second of all,
Mhm.
somebody that is close enough that you guys have the same issues and vernaculars when it comes to traveling to one another. And there's a lot more understanding when you come from a similar background. So I think that's fantastic. Um, I myself would love to find somebody that could slot in like that with me and my husband. I have a roster. I won't lie about that. I
No shame
do.
in that. No shame in that.
But my roster is comprised of a little bit of geographically desirable, a little bit of connection, a little bit of, oh, look, he has a big dick. So it just everybody's got their own thing that makes them desirable to the roster. So do you have you what is the craziest thing that has ever happened to you when you were doing these date nights?
That's so funny. Oh, I don't even know. So the thing about being in the lifestyle though is things stop seeming crazy to me. Um,
I know. I mean, honestly, when somebody asks me that question, literally my go-to is somebody finger fucked my belly button.
I remember I
That's
heard
what
that episode. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing at that, but I just remember hearing you talk about it, and I was just like, "That's interesting." And then you talking to your husband about it, I was just like, "Yeah, okay." Craziest thing. I don't really know, honestly. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
So let's
like racking my brain, and I've done. I don't want to say I've done everything because I keep discovering new kinks as the longer I'm in the lifestyle and things I'm willing to try or experiment with.
Mhm.
So, but I've been around the
I love
block.
that.
I've been around the block, so
Right.
nothing really seems that crazy anymore.
Exactly. Okay, so how about this? How often do you find yourself signing up for getting involved in something and then having it fall through?
Um, ooh, so that doesn't happen too often. At least the falling through part. I say that
Mhm.
even though that happened literally this month, and I won't be returning to that couple, unfortunately. Um, so it doesn't happen too often, but that's also because I think I try to put in the front work to make sure it doesn't happen.
Right.
Um, by that, like I don't want to say a cookie cutter intro message, but I have a pretty well thought out intro message when I reach out to people. So,
Right.
and I also don't mind talking in the DMs of an app or in a secondary messaging app for a while before I meet somebody. So I'm putting in the front work to see, all right, do we really want to match, or is it just we both thought, our pictures were hot, and now we're just doing a quick little hour or two of sexting, and then we're never going to talk again.
Right. My That's one of the things I'm really, really bad at. I'm really, really bad at the digital communication.
Hmm.
I mean, that's not true. I'm great at it. I give great text, but I don't have the attention span to put in the hard work, to put in the detail-oriented work. I am so easily distracted. And the thing is that, I'm gonna be frank, being a woman in the lifestyle, I get so many messages.
Yep.
I get so many messages, and that even a conversation that I started, because of the way that the conversations are going, a lot of times I lose the thread, because if I'm in there answering your message, there are probably 5 other ones that I'm also answering. So, for me, digital communication is something that is a sparkle, but not really a flame. And that's why, because of the fact that my husband knows that I'm terribly ADD, that he finds it easier for me to make a connection at parties and stuff. So, like, that I'm not able to squirrel off onto 1,000 other things while I'm in the midst of conversing with this person. So, do you find that ever to be something where you lose the thread?
Um, so a little bit. So it's a little different, obviously, for a single guy or just guys in general. because I've seen my some of my friends' messages, and I'm like, oh, you have so much more chaos happening on the DM side of your apps and various profiles than I do. Um, a lot of the times, so because I'm a pansexual, a lot of the times what happens is, and not even just that, just because I'm a bull, what I have is husbands reaching out sometimes, and they're like getting really hot and heavy into the sexting in the DM, and it's just like, but they're not actually setting anything up. They just like the
Right.
idea of talking about it, and it's just
Hmm.
like, okay, this is kind of fun, but this is also a waste of my time a little bit because
Right.
nothing's gonna come of this. Like, yeah,
And
I'm
that's
enjoying the sexting, but it's not leading to a date or even to a platonic, drinks or dinner just to chat. The reality of like, okay, if I do join you two, or if we do set up a sex date, like, what does that look like? So
exactly. So, what does a sex date look like? I mean, just randomly off the cuff, if you're planning this, how often do you plan it, or are you just sort of like the fit in
to
that
fit
of the
in.
plan?
So it depends. Sometimes I am like the chief planner, but also sometimes it's just like the husband or the wife is planning it, and I'm just to fit in. I will say this: my ideal situation is when I'm planning it. We meet at a restaurant for drinks. We chat, flirt a little bit, and then typically in my case, I like to book a hotel that's within walking distance of wherever we're meeting, so that we can go back to said hotel without having to worry about cars or moving anything, as well, so we can keep the energy up, and
Mhm.
then go back to that hotel room and then have our date night there. And I typically do the hotel room because my track record has been most of the couples I deal with have kids. And so when they do have the free time to be in a lifestyle, it's a date night where they need to be out of the house because the kids are either at home with a family member or with a babysitter or whatever. Uh, and also because, general security, people don't always want you coming to their house, which I get.
Exactly.
So when I do that, a lot of couples just like it because it's like, okay, cool. We don't have to worry about you coming over here. We know where we're meeting. Typically, I try to pick like a restaurant that's not necessarily well known, but that's in a nice walkable area, well lit. People know it. It's not like, oh, I don't know that area. Where is this random bar? It's like, oh, I know that neighborhood, or I know that development. So
It's not a speakeasy in the back of a dark alleyway. Oh, how weird.
exactly.
Okay, so what is your type? What are you looking for when you're out there?
So this is a good question, because I've been listening to your podcast, and I've also been like self-reflecting on what I've been doing in the lifestyle. And while I've been having fun, I would say as a solo bull, I primarily I'm looking for couples, right? Because I like joining and adding to that dynamic. I like the hot wives or the stag vixen dynamic primarily. I
Mhm.
will entertain the cuckold dynamic, but I don't really like the degradation part. Like, it's just not my thing. I can do it, but it's just like that does nothing for me.
Yeah.
So I like the hot wives and the stag vixen dynamic mostly, and I like
Mhm.
joining them because it's like, honestly, I think I'm a little envious of that dynamic. To be the man who's that secure and like, yeah, my wife is gonna fuck another man. Maybe I'll join, maybe I'll just watch, or maybe she'll just go on a date with you and then come back to me. First off, I applaud any husband in that situation. The emotional security and development it took to get there, I know isn't easy. Because even myself, I've had to deal with my own jealousy in the lifestyle. But secondly, I'm just envious of that dynamic as a couple. I'm just like, oh, wow, you guys are really secure in each other. And I recognize that there's probably a lot of work that went into that, and there's a lot of time. But I just like being a part of that and just adding to their journey. And
Mhm.
I tell a lot of couples, hopefully one day this is me. Like, I tell the husbands, like, I really like what you've got going on here. And I want this to be me one day, which is also why I'm not on the traditional dating apps anymore. Because I'm like, I feel like a lot of you are monogamous, and me dating you is just setting myself up for failure and disappointment. So let me
And
remove myself
it's
from that.
you already know it's a little bit of false advertising on your part, and that's kind
Exactly.
of it's kind of
Exactly.
the anti thing that we're all trying to do because we're all trying very hard to be as honest and upfront as we possibly can. And that
Absolutely.
is a main tenet of being in the lifestyle is that you have to lead with honesty because false advertising is just which is why when you get catfishers, it's like What are you thinking? I mean,
I like that I've been around on the internet long enough that I can identify catfishers pretty well. Specifically, catfishers who use porn stars pictures. I'm just like, I've been around long enough. I saw that person's career start and end. Like, I've been on the
it's
internet long
hilarious.
enough to know who you're catfishing as. Like, stop
Um,
it.
the one that got me, the one that got me was there was um it was a picture of a man, like a black man's abs
Hmm.
stacked, like chiseled. And the guy showed up. He was not black.
All right.
The only gym he'd ever been to had an ice cream shop attached to it. Like, it was not this was not somebody who had chiseled black abs. This was somebody who, and then he sat there and he was like, "Why don't you wanna play with me?" And I'm like, "Because you creep me out because it's a lie." And like,
Yeah,
come honest, because we're gonna know if you get so lucky as to actually meet up with somebody, putting a lie out there as the very first thing that you did is not going to end well.
absolutely. And that's why
That's just
actually I don't
facts.
get when I first got started in lifestyle, I used to really I don't want to say be ticked off, but like frustrated by all the verification steps or on the Swingers app that they're like, hey, you got to get verified or you got validations. I was like, why? And like as I've progressed further into the lifestyle and just I hear more stories, I'm like, all right, I'll jump through these hoops. I'll jump through these hoops. Let's do a FaceTime or let's meet on it or let's just have a platonic first date. Absolutely. You know, and if it doesn't work out after the platonic first date, I'm not that mad about that. So
Right. I really wish that I could get into dating. I mean, I'm not I was never a dater even, like, before. Me, it's very hard to sit down with somebody and, do small talk. I'd rather
yeah.
get to the flesh of it, you know what I mean? And so because of the fact that I know this about me, when people ask me to go on, like, these platonic dates, I'm literally like, um,
Yeah,
I don't
it is
know.
actually pretty difficult because at least I mean, I don't want to say I'm a newbie to the lifestyle, but like when you first start out, it's dating in a lifestyle is radically different than the dating we all know and grew up with, like through
Mhm.
high school and early college. It's radically different in that, you know, at least for a bull, you need to have a relationship with both the husband and the wife, unless like the
Right.
husband is absolutely not involved. And then even then, you have to make sure he's still comfortable with you. That's his wife at the end of the day. Even because a lot of people think, you know, the cuckold dynamics, the husband's opinion doesn't matter. And I'm just like, no, that guy has so much power over your relationship, you don't even realize. If he just starts telling his
Exactly.
wife, hey, I don't think this guy's safe for you, she might completely
She
unplug from you. And
exactly.
you're just there.
Have you ever been in a relationship where you found out that it wasn't an actual lifestyle, but it was a cheating thing? Have you ever found that?
I haven't been in that relationship, but because I'm a pansexual, I'm also on Grinder, and that happens so many times where there's like a couple account, and it's really just the husband who's suppressing his bisexuality. His wife is unaware of what's happening, and I'm just like, oh, this is creepy. This is really creepy. Same thing happens on Reddit too, where husbands will reach out and they'll be like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to get her into the lifestyle. I'm trying to get her to be comfortable with this idea. I'm like, I am not the guy to convince your wife. In fact, I don't even like the idea of convincing your wife. I want her to be a fully fledged participant to the point that a lot of the times
Exactly.
now I've recognized the red flag is when I'm only talking to one side of the couple, whether that be the husband or the wife. I like a group chat.
Mm,
I want both parties to see what I'm saying, even if it's just me and the wife flirting or planning. He should be
mhm.
fully plugged into what's happening. And I actually really like it when a couple's like, hey, let's get a group chat of all three of us going. I'm like, oh, absolutely.
Y
Yeah. Love that. Phenomenal.
right. My husband and I share the same profile on
Mm.
all of our apps. So, I think with the exception of my podcast apps, my husband and I are on the exact same, like, he answers a lot of the, messages that come to me on FetLife.
I bet
And
most guys don't know that.
you can always tell when he does because he's like, uh, obviously, he gets really sarcastic. It is so funny to me when I go back and read his stuff. He gets really he's like, "Oh, so you didn't read our profile. Is that what I'm hearing? What I'm hearing right now is that you didn't read our profile." And I'm like, "Dude." And he's like, "Yeah, no, you're not really gonna pressure my wife into doing something. She told you no already." And I'm like, "That's kinda hot. That's kinda hot, babe." So, like, for me, it's got, I find it interesting that he sees all of the same things that I'm seeing and that he has an idea of what it's like to be because all most of our profile stuff is me. It's got
Hmm.
very little to do with him. Occasionally, he'll throw up a shot of himself or something, but most of the stuff on our profile is, of course, me because I'm the one who's doing all the playing and doing all the whatever. So for me, I'm like, he can kind of feel what it's like to be a female on FetLife. He can feel what it's like to be approached by all of these men who are, and I'm never gonna fault anyone for shooting their shot. It's a brave person who shoots their shot, and even if it doesn't
Absolutely.
work, you know, more power. But the amount of single word or emojis or like you are you didn't run into me in the produce aisle. You ran into me in the fet sphere. So if you really want to get my attention, hey, probably isn't going to cut it. So what do you find the most um what works the most for you when you're messaging someone?
Well, that's a good question. Because I don't, like I said, I don't cold call too much. I have been doing a little bit more this summer, only because I'm just seeing profiles and I'm reading through them, and I'm just like, I am interested in actually meeting with you two, so let me try this. But like I said, I really curated like an intro, so like I introduce my name, I introduce a little bit of my experience and the dynamics I'm interested in when I'm reaching out to a couple accounts. Also, generally speaking, I'm addressing both of them until I'm told otherwise. I'm addressing both of them as a unit because I assume that both of them have access to the profile or to the account, as in the same case with you and your husband on the Fed account. So,
Mhm.
and like I said, when you're a third for a couple as a guy, you have to have a relationship with both of them to a degree. So you need
Right.
to curate that, and you need to address both of them equally as much as possible. Uh, However, I will admit, a lot of the times I don't even get a response, and that's something that single guys, I think, some struggle with. Like, you're going to shoot your shot, and you're going to get lost in the sea. Even if
Right.
you have a really well curated message, there's no way of telling if you are one message that day or if you're the 500. And
Exactly.
that's a very real possibility because sometimes because I have a Instagram, a spicy Instagram account, as I like to call it, and sometimes I'll
Mhm.
shoot my shot and then I remember, oh, I'm probably just sitting in their request folder with a sea of other guys or other
Right.
couples, and I'm just like, okay, I can't be that mad that they didn't respond to my very vanilla question because
Mm.
I don't open with something super spicy. It's typically very vanilla, very if they're like in the DC area, I'm like, oh, are you? How long are you gonna be in the city for? And then I'm like, oh, they didn't answer because I'm just sitting in their request amongst
Right.
all the emojis and unsolicited dick pics, and I'm like, all right, well, move on. So
Oh yeah. Unsolicited dick pics. That is a it's going to be my table. It's going to be my coffee table book one day. Just kidding.
I
I'm
get
just
it.
kidding.
No, because I get them too, and I'm just like, I didn't ask for this. Like, yes, I'm a pansexual, and yes, I've been with men, but like, you don't even know if I'm attracted to you. Why are you sending me your dick pic already?
The one that kills me is this new thing that's come up is rate my dick.
I've seen this.
And I'm like, uh, for me, I mean, like, I'm an equal opportunity cock lover. Okay. I love cock. I love it. I love it all. Not something that I necessarily want to view in unsolicited situations, but it's one of those things where I enjoy playing with all shapes and models because every single one is different. And because every single one is different, just like every single vagina is different, it's going to hit differently. It's going to be something. And there are times when it's, you know, okay. But even bad sex is good.
You're not wrong. You're not
I'm
wrong.
not. So, I mean, but there's a lot going on there. There's a lot to that happens in those unsolicited dick pics that you're just like, and the people who ask you to rate their dick, it's like, I'm never, I don't want to humiliate my husband who might actually want me to do that, who might actually be into that. And I don't want to do that because that's not the kind of vibe I want to put out into the world. I don't want to be somebody who is judgy. I want to be
Hmm.
somebody who is curious, who is, okay, so that curves to the left. What would that do? Huh. Which position would work best for you to get to my G spot? Okay, so I'm laying on my left side. That sounds like it could work, that kind of thing. So for me, I'm also kind of a logistical like what's going to get me to my orgasm the fastest?
Uh-huh.
Uh, so so you don't have a type. Do you have a
No,
type?
I will say historically it is white women. That's not through like my decision though. That's just how it
Mhm.
happens.
Mhm.
I think being a person of color in the lifestyle, specifically for a woman, is a lot more. I don't, what's the word? Is a lot more delicate because
Right.
you really have to unpack. And actually, for guys too, but I think a lot of the guys just overlook it. You have to really unpack if you're being fetishized, and it's really like I've seen some of the DMs of like women of color in FetLife or just in general. I'm like, oh, these are really people who don't even see you as a person. They're just there for the sexual gratification of being with this race versus that race. And it's just like, oh, that I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Not to say that there aren't people in my area who aren't white, who aren't in the lifestyle, but they tread a lot lighter and a lot more
Mhm.
carefully. And
Yes.
so there are less opportunities to run into them. I will admit my area is, I don't want to say clicky, but very guarded. And the longer I'm in it, the more I realize why. The more I
Right.
see it, the more I experience it. I'm like, okay, I get why when you have a group of people or if you have a play group, why that group is so heavily guarded and protected
Mhm.
versus, just being out in the wild because from, the people who are going to fetishize you to the people who are going to scam you, um, to, the people who just are really toxic and unhealthy and you kind of realize you don't want to sleep with them, the people who fake their profiles.
Amen.
So yeah,
So, do you typically end up with people who are older or younger than you?
older. It's
Okay.
definitely older. Uh, Actually, I brought in the year with a couple who were grandparents and whose children were like only 7 years younger than me, and I was very proud of that fact. Was very proud of that fact, and I was like, all right. And the wife was just like, I'm just some old grandma. I was like, some old grandma. I'm gonna put through the fucking bed. And we definitely did, and I had a blast. And I was just like, yeah, I don't care if you're older than me. I do care if you're younger, however, because I recognize how I was earlier on in the lifestyle when I was in my mid 20s and didn't recognize all the red flags that were out there. So like I'm very careful about people who are younger than me. I'm like, all right, hold up. How long have you been in? What have you been doing? But yeah, traditionally I end up with older people or older couples, and I love it because they know what they want, which is probably why I can do the slot in as a third for them a lot easier because they know
Mhm.
exactly what they want. They've described it to me. We've talked about it. We've sexted about it, and then it's the night of, and we're right there. We all know what we're doing, and we're having a blast, and we're gonna have some great orgasms.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I understand exactly what you're talking about. My husband and I, for a very, very long time, when we first started, we had an age limit. like nobody under 26. Just wasn't going to happen
Mhm.
because there's something about the fact that their prefrontal cortex hasn't fully formed that makes you feel a little predatory.
No, I get it all the time. Like I not recently, but I remember when I made the change on all of my dating profiles, and I was like, nobody below this age. And then as I found myself getting older and older, and now I'm in my 30s, I'm like, definitely nobody below this age. Like, yeah, you might be hot. I might like your videos and your photos on FetLife. I might even like your account, but it's not happening probably. Like it's
Right.
no, I'm good.
Because like there's and I understand that everybody has to start somewhere, but that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I need to take advantage of whatever it is you're working through in this realm. And I'm happy that people find their way to their kink very early in life, but I also understand that a lot of kink is derived from trauma,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I don't need to be adding to anyone's trauma base. For me, it's just, yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. And the thing is that I talk a good game though, but if I'm at a party and somebody approaches me,
That's true.
I will
I
ruin a life. I will do it.
yeah, I will admit when I don't do this often, but when I'm at a gangbang event, I I really don't ask too many questions in regards to like okay what are your kinks? I'm just like okay, what's your safe word? Who's your safety buddy? Cool, we got that. We're off to the races. Get naked. We're all about to have a good time. Um, but also, I don't think I've been to a gangbang where there's anybody been too young or that's raised a red flag for me. Most of them are either
Right.
at my age or older. So,
Hmm. Oh, I some of my early stuff was gangbangs. Like people would set up gangbangs for me. Oh, yes. Thank you. Twice more, please. Yes. No, I mean, seriously, a gangbang for me is one of those truly delicious events for a woman. It is one of those events where it is 100% all about her.
mhm.
And all of the energy is related to her and her holes and it is so much energy that I feed off of it. I feel like a succubus really, that I'm just like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
let's
that's a
do
great way to
it."
put it.
So, for me, I mean, I love a good party. I love the atmosphere that that creates, and that's why I think my husband and I tend to find most of our bowls from parties because
Mm,
it is a place and a time when everybody's let their guard down and they are like, we're just feeding an energy here. We're going with this and it breaks so much of the tension. It breaks so much of the ice and makes everybody puts everybody on the same page. It's just my
yeah.
thoughts.
So, no, those are good. Ironically, for me, I actually haven't been to too many parties. I've been to gangbangs, but like that's like the plan was the gangbang, and we knew that was happening, and every guy was screened or filtered for that. Um,
Mhm.
because I find for me, one, I'm actually a surprisingly shy person. I know it's just funny being in the lifestyle, but I don't like big gangbangs. So like once we get past like you tell me, oh, I've got more than 8 people coming, I'm like, is this a gangbang for me at this point? Because I've been
Mhm.
to a couple of big gangbangs, right, where there's been like 8 plus. I think the biggest one I've ever been to was 12 plus. And then as the night progressed, I realized it was just the same 5 guys, including myself in rotation. Like some
Mhm.
of the guys would just like kind of stand there and be like, "Oh, do I get in? How do I join?" And it's just like, "Oh, you no, you got to tell me you want to come in, and I'll either let you in or I'll finish, and then you can go."
Yeah.
Versus the smaller gangbangs where it's like under 5 guys. I know like that's a lot more intimate, and like you said, it's still focused on the life, and those are really fun
Mhm.
for me. And I start to feed off that energy too. And even after I've climaxed one or like 3 or 4 times, I think the most has been like 5. There's still like something going on in front of me that I can enjoy even as I'm taking my break, and then I
Mhm.
can just join back in when I'm ready. And I know that like there's space for me versus the bigger gangbangs, I'm just like, all right, there's like four of you who haven't joined in yet, and like me and these other five dudes are gonna keep going until we can't go anymore.
Exactly. And that's kind of it's really funny, that's kind of the way a lot of the parties I go to are. Like, the last party I went to, there were so many people there, but I
Hmm.
literally only played with 3 of the participants. And, I mean, mind you, they were my guys, they were my like, they're guys I've all played with them many, many times in the past, but
Hmm.
it was one of those things where I kind of felt so, like I had culled my roster and left everybody else, but that wasn't on
That wasn't something you
purpose.
were, yeah, that wasn't something you were trying to do.
That
I
wasn't something I
think,
was trying for.
yeah, I
It
think
just
for
happened.
guys, it's a little bit more difficult. One, because I've seen it happen. Some guys get stage fright, right? For a variety of reasons. Whether it's like, oh, there's a bunch of dicks in the room that like just doesn't do it for me, and I can't mentally focus. Or I've seen this happen where there's just a big dick motherfucker in the room, and you realize that like he's so much bigger than you. And I'll say this to any guys listening: there's always going to be a bigger dick. There's just
Always.
always. The sooner you get over that mental hill, the better you will have, the better time you'll have in the lifestyle. Um, but
And on
also in the
top of that,
case,
not every woman can take a dick that big.
that's
The
very
fact
true.
is that
Yeah,
there's so many women out there who are intimidated, just as intimidated by a big dick as you are. So
absolutely.
she's not looking and I will be frank about this. We're not look all not everybody's looking for size. Some
Hmm.
people That's why I am a connoisseur of dick, if you will. Because every single dick has its own like attributes to share. And that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for, "Oh, he rearranged my diaphragm and now my liver is bruised." Not every woman is
Absolutely.
looking for that. So every teapot, every cup of tea has somebody who will drink it. Don't You should never be intimidated that you don't have the biggest dick in the room. Anyway, you were saying
Absolutely.
something very smart about that.
So in your case, for any guy who wasn't on your roster, I could imagine it being difficult because there's already chemistry, right? So that's the other thing is a lot of guys looking in, whether it's their first time or they're just new to that group, or even if they've been a returning member, if they haven't been with that woman who's the center of the gangbang and they see these other guys who are, for lack of a better term, being more dominant, aggressive, and just going after it, they might be hesitant to just jump in. I've seen that happen a lot of times. And it's also hard, which is why like for me when I'm at a group, yes, I'm going, I'm doing my thing, having my fun, but I'm also looking around like, hey, you want a turn? Do you want to come in? Because you kind of have to do that. You really, especially
Exactly.
once you get past four guys, you have to be, hey, you want a turn, bro? Because some guys can nut and keep going. Other guys can nut and they have to take a break. I'm
Mhm.
kind of one of those guys who nuts. Okay, I'm gonna take 5 minutes, get a glass of water, maybe go pee, refresh, dry off, wipe a towel off of my forehead, and then I'm going to join back in, right?
Mhm.
But some guys aren't like that. Some guys are just like, oh, this is phenomenal. I'm going to keep going. And they're going, going, going until like the Energizer Bunny. And
Yeah.
and if you're those guys, you kind of have to look around and be like, hey, do you guys want to turn? You want to get in here? Like, and sometimes you as the guy waiting, you have to put yourself in there or get close.
Exactly.
Get close, get a hand, get somebody stroking on you, and then watch. She'll be like, you, my mouth now. And next thing you know, you're in that rotation of guys who you at first were too intimidated to join.
Exactly. I mean, and there are guys out there like I if you've ever heard the episode about the cannoli, Bogart and the Punch Bowl, he there are guys out there who are very selfish and don't look around and realize that there's only one female playing at this party. I need to puff puff pass.
Hmm.
It's just party etiquette. And there
Yeah.
is etiquette to all of these parties. There's etiquette to how you approach a gangbang. You never it's Especially if a gangbang is set up for a very specific woman to do f this is about harnessing her inner slut and
Yep.
working through her desires to be that center of the attention. So if you are taking more than your fair share of time with this woman, it's becoming about you and not becoming about this woman.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you've ever seen how gangbangs are advertised. They're advertised about the woman for a reason, because somebody wants to watch this woman reach maximum pleasure. And if you're coming to a gangbang under the impression that it's about you in any way, shape, or form, you're probably approaching it wrong. You're probably
absolutely.
approaching it from um, a narcissistic point of view that you should probably curb before you walk in there. Because I, as the woman, am the narcissist here. Just kidding.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. When you're at a gangbang, it's not about the guys; it's about her. The guys are just there
Mhm.
to help fulfill a role. You know, for lack of a better term, we are the stunt dicks for her to fulfill this fantasy, to fulfill this moment. And you like you said, you have to
And
puff
don't
puff
think I'm not
pass.
stealing. Don't think I'm not stealing stunt dick. Totally.
Feel free,
Stealing
feel
that,
free.
co-opting it, bringing it into my lexicon. So, but yeah, no, I mean, my thing is that I have been in the lifestyle. I've been at gangbangs, I've been at parties, I've been at one-on-ones. I've been through the gamut. We set up a hot date on SLS once, and everything. One thing that women don't really know is that in the lifestyle, pussy is power.
Absolutely.
Pussy is power. And you like, and I think that's something that women don't realize that they have. They don't realize the extent of the power they have over a situation, because one no from her ends everything. Um, what do you, as a bull, um, look out for? What makes you hesitate?
Okay. Um, well, for me, one, even before clothes comes off, we're gonna have a consent conversation. We're going to have a boundaries conversation. Whether that's actually not whether that's going to happen via text, right? Or our messaging app or the DMs. I'm going to ask you, what are your hard no's? What are your soft no's? What is this ideally should end for you? Like, how should this event or date night go for you? Um, and then again, when we get in person, when we get to that hotel room, I'm going to, or as we're walking to the hotel room, I'm going to reaffirm everything that you just asked, right? I'm going to also ask you your safe word eventually, either right before your clothes come off. I'm going to tell you that I subscribe to the traffic light system, which is green light is go. There are like three different yellow lights. There's some yellow lights that are like, I'm overstimulated, slow down, but don't stop. There's
Mhm.
yellow light, I don't really like this, let's change positions. And then there's yellow light, this is great, but I might need a break. And then obviously there's red light, which is, hey, stop, decompress, whatever. Might restart, might not. But that's just my system. Uh, so we're going to have
Yeah,
those conversations.
yellow light to me has always been a let's pause and have a conversation. Something's not right.
Mm.
So it's a yellow light always meant conversation to me.
And
But
it can. That's why I said
hearing you
yellow light has like
describe it makes it
three
interesting.
different like things, because it could be, hey, we need to stop and have a conversation. Or it could be, this is great, I'm just overstimulated, slow the fuck down, which
Mhm.
has happened. Somebody has used that with me before. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll just slow down the pace. That's fine.
What did that look like? I mean, what was overstimulated? Mhm.
Well, so we
Was
were
it
having
clit
a
play?
threesome. We were having a threesome with her husband, and yes, there was clip play involved while we were penetrating. And she was just like, "Hey, I can't breathe. There's a dick in my mouth. There's a dick behind me, and both of you are either playing with my nipples and my clit. I'm overstimulated. It's great, but just slow the fuck down." So we did, and she had a great night. But it was just like, okay, cool. Yellow light, slow down a little bit because I just need to
Mhm.
catch my breath.
Right.
But there's also, like you said, yellow light where we need to stop. And I'm gonna have that conversation with you before clothes comes off. So all of that is happening even before we get to me looking out for red flags. Then during, I'm going to look at your body language. I'm going to look at, are you wincing quietly and like trying not to ruin the vibe? Also, I'm going to be honest. I'm checking in throughout the night. Like throughout whatever we're doing, I'm checking in. I'm not asking, do you like it just to hear my voice? I'm like, I need you to affirm you do in fact like this, and you want me to keep going. I'm going to ask, are you okay? Whether that's in a sultry voice, even in a gangbang, I'm checking in with the woman as my cock is potentially coming in and out of her mouth. I'm like, how you doing? You know, do you like that? You like, all these words that people think you're just whispering sweet nothings. No, I'm actually checking in with you. And I'm checking your response. Sometimes you're out of breath and you're like just nodding. Okay, cool. I know we're okay. Sometimes it's a yes. Sometimes it's a fuck yes. And I'm like, all right, cool. We can keep going. Um, and generally, I haven't had any situation where I've generally really had to stop. Um, well, recently, now that I'm thinking back to my earlier days, there have been moments where I've been like, okay, I got to stop because you don't look like you're enjoying yourself, and I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm not one to power through somebody's discomfort. So it's really been like, okay, if you're not enjoying yourself, we're going to stop. Even if you say, no, 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 I can handle it. It's like, no, you're clearly in pain, either because of my size or because this position, whatever's going on, and either we stop and it's just not going to happen. Maybe we just both orally please each other, and that's just how the night ends, or we just stop altogether and decompress, do some aftercare, talk about what went wrong, talk about why you were silently felt you could tell me you were uncomfortable, and then
Mm.
we move on from there. But generally, I haven't had to really stop. But those are the things I'm doing. So like a lot of couples, because I recently was with a couple in June, and they just moved to the area, and they were like, "Yeah, he was really nice, really sultry, whispering sweet nothings." And I was like, "Thank you," but I was actually checking in with your wife the entire time.
Uh,
I was like, because it was kind of for lack of a better term, a mini gangbang, where the husband got three guys to come over, and we had a lovely hotel night, and the focus was on her, and it turned into, we were having a good time, but at the same time, I was just like, hey, are you okay? Do you like having this big dick in you? And she's like, yes, I love it. And I was like, cool. I know we're on a good track. I know you're having a good time. You know, so things like that. People think you're just whispering sweet nothings, so it's like, no, I'm actually checking in with you to make sure you're having a good time.
yeah, because one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that women will shut down. Women will stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
Women will if they get uncomfortable, they'll go to some it's
Quiet
the
place within themselves.
exactly. It's the fight, flight, freeze. A lot of women are freezers. A lot of women are like, I'm just going to hold still until this is over and then I'll find my way out.
Mm-hmm. They really will.
So the fact that you as a man, as a bull, understand and constantly do the double checks for consent to make sure that whatever is going on, she's 100% on board with, because it's hard for women who are trying to do the things that are expected of them, constantly living up to expectations, to put yourself in a position where you thought you were going to feel a certain way about it and then suddenly you
In the moment,
don't.
you're not. Yeah.
Having somebody who will actually stop, make you focus, make you say the words, yes, I'm good, brings you back into, and I find that very admirable. I find that something that a lot more men could be doing.
Yeah, and let me say this to the male listeners: don't be afraid to stop fucking. I've done that before. I've like legitimately stopped fucking and be like, "Hey," I looked somebody in the eye. I'm like, "I need you to use your words. I need you to say yes. I'm enjoying myself." The little nod or the is like that's not enough. It's not clear enough. I need you to say yes. Whether you
Mhm.
add a yes daddy to the end of that or yes keep fucking me, those are irregardless to me. But I need to hear that yes, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
don't be afraid to like legitimately stop fucking and just be like, all right, are you gonna affirm that you're okay and on board, or are we gonna stop here? Because I'll stop. Yeah, my dick is
Right.
hard. Yeah, I might give myself blue balls, but I'll stop.
Yeah.
So
I got a shower and a hand at home. I'll be fine.
exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, that is so to me, that is some very deep lifestyle knowledge that you have right there. That is some information that I can truly honestly say that you're doing the lifestyle the way that I hope most bulls approach the lifestyle,
Mm.
looking for constant affirmation of consent. I find that ridiculously hot.
Well, thank you. I think my partners would agree with you, at least the people who have been with me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, ironically enough, like somebody randomly, like not somebody I was involved with, but the friend of somebody I was involved randomly called me Captain Consent, just because of the way we were. We were at a dungeon, and it was my first dungeon experience. It was a private dungeon, and I just, just kept asking. I was like, "Is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I watch?" Because since it was my first dungeon, I was seeing so many things for the first time, and it had really been the first time I'd been on that side of the lifestyle. I'd normally been
Mhm.
with just the swinger side, or the submissive girl one on one. That was my first time seeing a St. Christopher's cross, or to see somebody tied up and suspended as they go through an impact session. It's
Mm.
also the first time I played with electrical stimulation, and that was very interesting. It's not as bad as it sounds, everybody. Trust
Oh,
me.
yeah. It's more like bee stings. That's the way it always
Y-
felt to me. It felt like bee stings.
I didn't even think of it like that. I just liked it. It felt like I was sitting in a massage chair. And it was
Mhm.
funny because somebody was like, "Oh," or somebody who was watching me be stimulated was like, "Are you a sensualist? Because you seem to be enjoying this a lot." And I, like, in the moment I was very quiet because I was like, "Oh yeah, you might be right. Yeah, this might have to be." And ironically, after that moment, I thought about it for like 2 to 3 weeks, and I had to change my FetLife title. And I was just like, being a bull is nice, and that's still a part of me, but I am definitely a sensualist because I saw
Mm.
it carry over into how I was interacting with couples and hot
Mm.
wives, and it's just like, yeah, this is my thing. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, my husband, whenever we did electrical play, he couldn't ever feel it. He's more of a conductor. So I would
hmm
touch him and I'd be like, okay, there's a lot of electricity running through you right now." But we don't like it got to the point where I was just like, this just feels like I'm being stung by bees. I'm not really there. So I
it's
don't think
definitely
this
an
is my
acquired
one.
taste.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
that's perfectly fine. It's an
I
acquired
mean, I do
taste,
like
but
wax play though. Wax play is like the
really,
hot and then the way it hardens and then
oh,
peeling it off. All of that is such a I mean, it plays with your nerve endings and it focuses you in the here and the now and because it changes its natural state
hmm
just in a short amount of time, it's constantly reassessing what you're feeling. And it is for
interesting.
me, that's there's something really erotic about it.
I've never done it. I've seen it, and it just in my head, I'm just like, that's really messy, and I'm not interested in that. But
Mhm.
a lot of people have described it the way you have, and I'm like, oh, maybe one day. And I guess that's like the beauty of the lifestyle is if you're in it long enough, you're gonna try it. You're gonna keep
Exactly.
seeing it. You're gonna meet a friend who's just like, oh yeah, I love this. You want me to walk you through it like in a safe, controlled manner, and it'll just take that one friend or that one person where you're like, I trust you. All right, let's walk through this. Let's try this.
And I gotta tell you, messes, that's why God made shower curtains, okay? Shower
You're not
curtains are my
wrong.
go-to. Shower curtains are my go-to because they're like the shower curtain liners, they're super cheap. You can buy a bunch of them. They fold up real nicely in your little suitcase. You can lay them out, make as big of a mess as you want on top of it, fold the whole thing up and throw it away. I love self-cleaning. Sorry.
No,
But
no, no, don't be sorry.
I really do appreciate you coming on here because it is I, of course, talk to my husband all the time, and I get a
Mhm.
lot of the perspective from his side. And I have had conversations with Jeff, who is one of my favorite bulls. But it's very interesting to get a perspective that I don't have personal involvement in. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
So because of the fact that I know he's not referring to you, I know you're not referring to me when you have these conversations, even though am a little jealous that it's not me, but, whatever. Um, I do like the fact that that having a conversation where I can dig more and not feel like I'm narcissistic about my digging. Do you know what I mean? It's like, "So tell me how wonderful I was, okay?"
Yeah. You kind of get for lack of a better term, an objective POV compared to
Exactly.
the guys who have just been with you, and you never know, like, are they being super nice, or are they just remembering the best moments, you
Exactly.
know?
Anything that you wanna do, anything that you wanna try.
Mm, Yeah. So one of the reasons I know I'm a pansexual because that was a journey in itself too.
Mhm.
What one of the things I really want to do is I want to be with a bi couple where the husband is also bi, or at least a bi bottom and interested in sucking my dick. I have
Mm.
sucked a husband's dick in a threesome with a couple. Very hot experience, but it's still
Mm.
on my bucket list of like I really want the couple to suck me. Something about that power dynamic in that moment. I love power exchanges, so that to
Oh,
me is just a great one. Whether I'm the one in control or I'm giving control to somebody, but the fact that we trust each other enough to exchange power is
so
phenomenal.
erotic. Oh,
So in
yeah.
that moment, for me, a couple sucking my dick together, oh, it's just the idea of it is phenomenal. It's
Oh,
phenomenal.
huh. Yeah, now that's hot as fuck. And here I was thinking you were gonna tell me you wanted to go on a cruise. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I
Okay.
see the cruises, but they like might be on the list. Again, I like the small intimate setting, so I feel like the cruise is too
Yeah,
intimidating.
exactly. There might be too much stimulation going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you joining me. Um, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing that you would take the time, seriously. As always, guys, head over to privateadventures.net to fuel all of your fantasies and get some creative inspiration for your next big adventures. Privateadventures.net definitely has a lot of new stuff going on. They have a blog. So if you're looking for more information about a specific topic, head on over there, take a look at what they're laying out. And as always, if you stop by, let them know I sent you with the promo code Pineapple Pinup 10. Thank you for joining me today on the Pineapple Pinup the Hot Wife Life podcast. I'm so grateful to my guest. I really enjoyed having this in-depth conversation. And as always, if you need to reach me, you can find me at pineapplepinuppod@gmail.com. You can check my socials. There, my Instagram is listed in my show description. I am more than happy to take any conversation online if you like, and just reach out.